Hey guys, this is Tauna. Today we're going to be talking about Deadpool and going through a Deadpool deck. Now this is going to be the one that I'm looking towards building. There's going to be some changes before I completely build it potentially, but this is where I'm kind of starting from because there's a few different things that are very, very interesting about Deadpool that I want to abuse the heck out of with this deck. And, you know, this is one deck that a lot of people are kind of looking at and like, which direction do I kind of take him? Which is really fun. I love that kind of idea where, you know, the creature is that unique that people just aren't entirely sure what way to build him. And I think I figured out which way, and most people have kind of figured out very kind of similar here. And I talked about it in my previous video as well, but I'm going to go through the actual deck here, you know, just because I think that there's some really cool things you can potentially do with him. Now, couple really cool things beforehand. First of all, you will see this awesome logo on my t-shirt, my jumper. I got some awesome branded jumper and t-shirt. This is not a sponsored video or anything. I'm not even tell you where I got it from, but that's because next week I'm going to be heading down to Melbourne to take part in the early, no, it's not early. It's the launch party for Dragonstorm. I am very, very excited about that. If you guys are going to be down there, make sure you hit me up and stuff. One big thing is I have very bad social anxiety and very bad imposter syndrome and stuff. So, you know, first of all, I don't think that I'm worthy of you guys all following me and everything like that. So, yeah, just keep in mind that I might be a bit shy. And the second part is that today we're going to start doing some Dragonstorm stuff. We've got accepted into the early access streamer event for the Tarkir Dragonstorm on Magic Arena. Now, you're probably questioning, you know, streamer event? Tony, you don't stream, you just make videos. Well, surprise, I'm going to be trying to do some streaming today. So yeah, head on over to that very soon. So let's go through Deadpool first up. So Deadpool has some very interesting mechanics. And thank you to Attack on Cardboard for kind of helping me with a couple of my very dumb questions in regards to this. So he has, when he enters, as Deadpool enters, that's very important text. As Deadpool enters, you may exchange his text box and another creature's. So we're going to keep that up there. Just keep in mind that you're going to be giving his text box away. The rest of his text box is pretty simple. At the beginning of upkeep, you lose 3 life. So whoever you give that text box to, they're going to lose 3 life at the beginning of their upkeep. And they can pay 3, sacrifice that creature, and each other player draws a card. So essentially, you're kind of handing out Deadpool's text box, and they are going to have to basically sacrifice the creature if they want to stop taking that damage. But when they sacrifice it, they're going to give you card draw, they're going to give your other mates card draw, etc. So why is this so important? This top part here has 2 very, very important parts. The first part is that it does not mention the word target. There is no word target in here, which means it is not targeted, which means it gets around hexproof, shroud, protection, that kind of stuff. It cannot be misdirected or anything like that either. It is not targeted. You are going to swap those. Now, the second important part here is as Deadpool enters, which I think is what Attack on Cardboard was trying to hint to me last night when he was saying about clones and stuff. This is essentially like a clone ability. It is going to be, as it enters, it is a replacement effect, which means that his text box will be replaced by whatever other creature. So that means that all of their abilities are going to be Deadpool's abilities, which means that you will get every enters the battlefield effect, the actual ones that say when this creature enters the battlefield, etc. So that's really, really great because it means that you're going to get a hell of a lot of value from this, because you're going to be able to get a heck of a lot of really, really great enters the battlefield effects. So that's basically what that's why I want to kind of talk about it first up, because there's some very important things to do with this. So let's get into the actual deck, starting up with the artifacts. We've got the basic kind of, ramp ones, Arcane Signet, Soul Ring, Talisman Indulgence, etc. But I added a couple of different ones in here. First of all, Blade of Selves. If we Myriad Deadpool, that means that each of the Deadpool copies that are coming in because of Myriad. Now, keep in mind that because of the legend rule, you will have to, get rid of the other ones. The other ones will die and go to the graveyard. Important that they die. They are not sacrificed. They just go to the graveyard. You will need to get rid of them. However, you will still hand out their as they enter effects, right? Very important. Next, Curse Totem. Now, activated abilities can't be affected. Activated abilities can't be activated. That means that no one can sacrifice their Deadpools. Really great, because now they're just going to take that damage. Or on the other hand, why don't you make it so the activated abilities cost one less? Do you need card draw, or do you want damage on people? That's the choice that you can make there. We've got Mirror Box here, so that way we get to keep all our other Deadpools. We've got, like if you clone him or anything like that, most of the time you are going to have to sacrifice them until you get some cards we'll talk about later on, or one card that we talk about later on. Sword of Hearth and Home. Now we can flicker him, as well as that gives us some ramp as well. Rakdos isn't great for ramp. So making that ramp, as well as, being able to flicker Deadpool, and then he can come in, steal something else, hand out his ability again. Helm of the Host, create more token copies of him. Why not? Conjurer's Closet is just another kind of version of flicker for us. Now into our actual creatures, you're going to notice like a couple different things here. First of all, we've got some procs off of things dying with Slaughter Specialist, Morbid Opportunist, and then Pitiless Plunderer. Just procs of things dying. Triggers off things dying. I say procs instead of triggers sometimes. Triggers off things dying is great. But we've also got stuff to hand out creatures to people. Because of the fact that we are going to want to put creatures out, like we want opponents to have creatures so we can give them Deadpool, like Deadpool's ability, we're going to hand out some creatures to people. We've also got Braids, Arisen Nightmare, because then we can, use that to sacrifice stuff, get us card draw, make them take damage. I just love Braids in this deck. I think it works really well, especially if we do have a number of extra kind of Deadpools kind of building up, we can sack them with that. The other thing you're going to notice is some really great myriad / cloning creatures. So, we've got Redoubled Stormsinger here. We've got Jaxus. You've got Delina here creating token copies. Ortheon creating token copies, etc. Because if we make a token copy of Deadpool, then that token copy still has his ability, which means it will still be able to switch with someone else's. We also got Mirkwood Bats for some extra burn. Khan the Betrayer. I just love the idea of having Khan and just passing him around. It's just really good. I love it. It's just extra card draw as well as also forcing people to attack, which is another thing that I kind of added a couple things in here for with Doom Scourge here to kind of force people to attack with their Deadpool copies. Xancha's in here because it's like the original version of Deadpool, where it's something that you give to someone else and then it makes them take damage and stuff. Dual cast a mage goes infinite with the the Soaring Half that comes with the actual secret lair as well. So that's going to go infinite there, and just be able to create a heap of token copies and then Deadpool token copies, etc. Solemn works really well with the token copies and Myriad and stuff too. There's just a bunch of different kind of like Myriad / token copies / stuff that works really well off those token copies. Now, the Master Multiplied is one of the kind of like secret commanders essentially in here, because it's going to make it so you don't need to sacrifice or exile creature tokens you control, which is great. That means that you don't need to get rid of any token copies or anything like that. The Myriad token copies stick around, etc. Legend rule no longer applies. It's great. Into our enchantments, just more token copy and stuff. We've got Populate here. We've got the Echoing Assault, which is going to create a 1/1 token copy of Deadpool. Phyrexian Arena is just here for card draw. Splinter Twin, more token copies. Wound Reflection is amazing. Now, there's a very important thing to keep in mind with Deadpool. The damage that the text box that he hands out does life loss, not damage. So therefore, no damage multipliers will work on it. It specifically has to be a life loss one. And also, it happens at their upkeep, not your upkeep. So therefore, it has to be something that does something similar to Wound Reflection, which is at the beginning of each end step, each opponent, etc. It has to be each end step, not your end step, because people aren't going to take damage on your end step. In for our instance here, I got Sazercap Sprue here because I found it hilarious handing out a fish to someone and then making that fish into a Deadpool. We've got some nice removal here with Terminate. Saw in Half can technically be removal if you wanted it to as well. It's not going to be great removal, but it can be. Chaos Warp's removal, Withering Torment removal, and some protection for Deadpool with Bolt Bend, Deadly Rollick, Maximum Overdrive. I mostly have Maximum Overdrive in here just because of the fact that, one, it gets a +1 Death Touch and Indestructible into Deadpool, which is great. But two, because it sounds so much like Maximum Effort, which is just the huge thing for Deadpool. Lands are kind of just basic. There's not really anything to talk about in the lands besides the Forbidden Orchard, which is going to hand out some colorless spirits, which is good. Yeah, that's basically really it for the lands. And then our sorceries are mostly just kind of copying effects, as well as one mass Goad with the Disrupt Decorum. Coiling Rebirth is great because of the fact it will bring back Deadpool, as well as make a token copy of Deadpool, which is good too. And Blood Money is our secondary board wipe. Blasphemous Act obviously coming in the actual secret lair, but Blood Money is going to let us create a bunch of treasures, and I just thought that was really funny with Deadpool. But that's basically kind of like the deck there. I'll put the link to it down below, but most of it, as I said, is kind of just getting out Deadpool as many times as possible, whether through actually cloning him or a little bit of kind of flicker stuff or some myriad stuff as well there. Mostly just kind of, you know, the cloned creature copy myriad stuff is the way you do it. Less likely the flicker. In fact, I'd probably potentially kind of cut that. I don't know. This deck is obviously kind of a work in progress. I don't know. These are good still though, because we can still use them to flicker other stuff, like, you know, flickering Carter's not too bad. Flickering the Life on the Party I love, because we're going to give everyone a copy of Life of the Party when that comes in, and then you can swap their copies of Life of the Party with your Deadpool, which is just funny. I don't know. It just seems very Deadpool to me. Yeah, I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. I'm really, really excited for this. And yeah, check me out. Hopefully streaming very, very soon to a YouTube near you. Have a great day and goodbye.